shape our tools, then our tools shape us. Customization isn't freedom, it's another layer of design.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're launching into something a little different.
A lot different, I'd say.
Yeah, fair enough. We're not looking at a news report or some corporate document. We're diving into this one monumental source, an incredibly long, raw, and very opinionated personal monologue.
And it really serves as a kind of complete mission statement.
It does. It's like a blueprint for a whole life philosophy, but it's also a guide to a pretty revolutionary way of creating content. It's all wrapped up in one.
It's a genuinely rare find, because this isn't just theory.
Right.
This is the operational manual of someone we could probably call the walking philosopher.
I like that. The walking philosopher.
Because this person is trying to do something that sounds almost, paradoxical. He's blending this ancient, millennial-old wisdom of Stoicism with the most cutting-edge and, let's be honest, often maddening technologies that are out there today. We're talking autonomous drones, AI models, custom scripts.
And even exoskeletons in resistance mode.
Exactly. It's a wild combination.
And the tension in this narrative is just phenomenal. We're really getting inside the mind of someone who, on one hand, sees technology as the ultimate tool.
The key to his personal liberation.
Yeah, it's the thing that lets him actually do what he wants to do. But at the very same time, he views the entire tech infrastructure around him as this pervasive machine of surveillance and control and just inefficiency.
It's a deep, deep love-hate relationship. It defines his entire workflow, his entire worldview, really.
And that frustration isn't just about tech, is it? It's driven by a much deeper dissatisfaction with modern society as a whole.
Oh, completely. And his prescription for all this chaos is rooted in this highly personal, Stoic-infused approach to, to survival. He offers this very clear three-part toolkit for building a meaningful life.
And it's all based on self-reliance, on building what he calls an internal fort.
An internal fort of resilience. I love that phrase.
Me too. So our mission today is to pull out the concrete strategies from this really unusual roadmap. We want to understand how he's using technology to maximize his own knowledge and, achieve a kind of personal sovereignty.
And we want to see what lessons his intense struggle with all these digital and physical constraints might hold for anyone trying to navigate our increasingly complex world.
We're looking for the actionable strategy that's buried inside his, let's say, extreme worldview. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
We have to start with the genesis of his whole format, the walking philosopher.
So the creation of this whole format, it really springs from a logistical headache. It's something that I think any content creator can immediately understand.
Oh, for sure.
The author had this one singular, long-standing desire. He wanted a cameraman who would just follow him around automatically, frame him perfectly, without him having to do anything.
And it's so important to stress that this wasn't about vanity. It wasn't about looking good on camera.
No, not at all.
It was about protecting the cognitive process, right? He says he wanted to focus entirely on the hard part, the talking and thinking.
Exactly. Without the constant, flow-breaking distraction of managing all the gear.
He talks about how much he disliked the old method, holding a phone on a gimbal.
Oh, he hated it. He described it as this constant peripheral anxiety. You're trying to articulate a complex thought, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking.
Am I still in the center of the frame?
Is the mic picking me up okay?
Yeah.
Is the gimbal battery about to die? Is it drifting?
Yeah, that kind of technical management is, it's the complete opposite of what you need for deep philosophical reflection.
It's antithetical to it. And now, that dream cameraman is no longer science fiction.
Right. It's here.
It's realized through either an autonomous drone or one of these sophisticated tracking camera systems that just locks onto him and follows him as he walks and talks.
And that finally gives him the physical and, more importantly, the mental freedom that he's been craving for so long.
It frees his hands, and it frees up that mental energy. He can now focus, 100% on articulating these complex ideas in real time.
But, and this is a big but, this technical liberation introduces a really crucial logistical challenge.
It does. And you, the listener, really need to understand this to appreciate the final videos he produces. The workflow is inherently asynchronous.
That's the key technical compromise he has to make. So the video is all handled by the tracking camera or the drone system.
And its only job is to keep him in the frame, often in pretty challenging outdoor environments with trees and changing light.
But the audio, that's a whole different story.
The audio is recorded completely separately. He uses a dedicated, high-quality microphone that's connected to its own SD card recorder.
And he's really clear about why the split workflow is, for him, non-negotiable.
He says if he tried to use the drone's onboard mic, or even a wireless mic sending a signal to the drone, the quality would just be terrible.
Full of wind noise, dropouts.
Just generally unpleasant. He emphasizes that the audio needs that post-production refinement. You have to filter it, compress it, and then sync it up later. Raw, unedited, outdoor audio is, I think his words were, simply too jarring for consumption.
So this guarantees this crucial extra step in his process.
Mm-hmm.
Post-production, where the clean, separately recorded audio has to be manually edited and then synced to the video footage from the drone.
That's the trade-off.
Yeah.
It's a necessary one, and he's totally transparent about it with his audience.
He tells them right up front, look, the lips in the final videos won't always move in perfect sync with the audio.
Right. That little visual misalignment is the price he pays for absolute focus on the thought process and for guaranteed audio quality.
But he assures the viewer that the spontaneity of it, the authenticity of the thoughts and the emotions that were captured during that walk, that's all intact.
The idea, not the visual perfection, is the absolute priority.
And that's a really interesting aesthetic choice, isn't it? He's sacrificing that seamless visual production, that polish we've all come to expect, for intellectual integrity and freedom of delivery. It really highlights how the technology is completely subservient to the philosophical message.
And this whole hands-free walking format isn't just about convenience. It's historically resonant.
Absolutely. This is where the modern tech really bows to ancient wisdom.
He connects this style directly to the practices of the early Stoic and other Hellenistic philosophers. I mean, we often associate the peripatetic tradition, which means of walking about, with Aristotle.
Right, walking in the Lyceum.
Exactly. But the Stoics also heavily use walking as a method for engagement and contemplation.
They weren't just standing behind a lectern reading from a prepared scroll.
No. They valued practical, accessible wisdom. They'd often just walk through public spaces, like the marketplaces, the Stoipoikili, or through groves of trees, and they just let people join them.
And the discussions were simple, conversational,
and focused on the practical application of philosophy. You know, how to live a better, happier, more meaningful life, especially when you're facing uncertainty.
So he sees his new format as a kind of digital echo of that ancient practice.
It's a deliberate return to the roots of accessible philosophy. He calls his output a humble, simple format, and he imagines the listener is just walking alongside him, sharing ideas.
But magnified and broadcast globally, thanks to 21st century automation.
It's the perfect marriage of his intellectual passion and his technical drive. However, the success of this entire system hinges on a second component.
A component designed for maximum self-optimization.
And one that very quickly exposed the extreme limitations and the immaturity of our current physical technology.
Okay, so this is where the ambition gets, well,
Physical.
very physical. The author is really driven by this desire to solve a classic modern dilemma of time management.
Which is, how do you integrate regular, challenging exercise into a packed schedule without sacrificing productivity?
His solution was to just merge the two activities, just fuse them into a single, highly efficient process.
And the tool he chose for this integration it's truly next level.
It's a motorized exoskeleton.
Specifically, one that's designed to operate in a resistance mode. And this is key. It's not about making walking easier, like for rehabilitation.
No, it's about making it actively, deliberately harder. It transforms a casual outing into a really serious physical workout.
The image he gives is so striking. He describes walking with this thing in resistance mode as feeling exactly like walking in water.
We should probably pause on that for a second and just think about what that means physically.
Yeah. The device is actively working against your body's motion. It's demanding significantly more effort from your muscles with every single step. It's mimicking the drag and resistance you'd feel if you were wading through a swimming pool.
So it just jacks up his heart rate, his muscle engagement, turning a simple stroll into a high-intensity, low-impact workout.
And all while his mind is completely free to articulate these complex philosophical talks, or, for his other content, analyze really complex poker hands.
So his ideal integrated workflow is just ruthlessly efficient.
Totally. Put on the exoskeleton, crank up the resistance mode, go for a precise 1-hour walk with the drone tracking him, and record the audio for his content.
1 hour, 2 major productive outputs. Serious health improvement and high-value content recorded.
It's a fantastic concept, a brilliant idea, but this is where we pivot from the technological dream to the technological nightmare.
This is where it all goes wrong.
This piece of high-tech physical gadgetry completely breaks down. It becomes this perfect microcosm of his broader frustration with the immaturity of hardware.
The whole exoskeleton project, it's been defined by just persistent, soul-crushing mechanical pain.
This really illustrates the very real and very high cost of being an early adopter of, well, anything.
He gives us this detailed account of these persistent recurring problems, and it wasn't just, a minor software glitch that a patch could fix.
Not at all. The unit repeatedly suffered major mechanical failures.
Specifically, motor failure and broken screws. And these aren't just any screws. They're vital for the structural integrity and the resistance function of the device.
And this wasn't a defect he experienced once. It wasn't a one-off lemon. It was a systemic failure that required constant service.
Which brings up the logistics of owning a complex piece of robotics like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. When a small, essential part, like a proprietary screw breaks, what's your expectation?
You'd expect the manufacturer to just mail you a replacement part, right? Maybe with a little tool to install it.
That would be the logical, efficient thing to do. But the headache he ran into involved this staggering bureaucratic rigidity.
The company insisted he send the entire unit back every single time a repair was needed.
Even for something as minor as broken screws.
The whole heavy, complex machine.
The whole thing. The implication here is either they had zero trust in the user to install even a simple part, or their internal logistics were just so broken they couldn't handle component-level service.
This speaks volumes about the inefficiency of their system.
It's absurd. Why would you incur these massive shipping costs both ways and weeks of downtime for a full unit replacement?
When the issue could be solved by sending a small padded envelope with a set of screws.
This rigid, inflexible protocol led to multiple full unit replacements and just these extremely long waiting periods where he couldn't use the device at all.
And the practical result of this whole logistical failure is almost unbelievable.
It's staggering.
The exoskeleton, the central pillar of his entire health and content integration strategy, has been non-functional 90% of the time since he bought it.
90%.
Yeah.
It's basically an expensive, high-tech monument to wasted potential and pure frustration.
A device he bought for efficiency that, through its own technical failings and the manufacturer's bureaucracy, actively generates massive inefficiency and downtime.
And this physical reality, this constant battle with broken hardware, it sets the stage perfectly for his intense critique of the digital world.
Which he finds to be equally hostile and, in many ways, even more frustrating. So, if the physical world of tech is defined by fragile, immature, and bureaucratic hardware, the digital world, from the author's point of view, is defined by something worse: active hostility and deliberate surveillance.
He starts with this general critique of technological maturity.
And it's a really good point. He argues that new technology is almost always terrible for years before it evolves enough to be genuinely useful.
And we, the consumers, are essentially forced to pay to be the beta testers during this really painful maturation period.
His analogy of the robot vacuum cleaner is just perfect for illustrating this.
It's so relatable. He notes that he invested in multiple models over nearly 20 years, always chasing that promise of automated, hands-off cleaning.
And for years, they were just dumb, bumping into walls, getting stuck under the sofa.
Eating cables, getting tangled in rugs. It was more work to manage the robot than to just vacuum yourself.
Exactly. And he says it was only the latest model he bought, and ironically one of the cheaper ones, that finally achieved a level of functionality where it could navigate his house, empty itself somewhat reliably.
And actually save him time.
It took 2 decades for that simple consumer automation to mature into a truly efficient tool.
But even that success comes with a catch, a trap, which just reinforces his sense of being controlled by corporations.
He points out that even this good, functional robot vacuum still requires these specialized, expensive bags and replacement parts.
Subscription-style costs that are hidden inside a physical purchase.
It implies planned obsolescence. It's a recurring spending lock-in designed to make sure the manufacturer keeps extracting value from you long after you've made the initial sale.
This moves us right into his core critique of the digital landscape. For him, the inefficiency of hardware, as bad as it pales in comparison to the inherent danger of modern operating systems.
He views smartphones and PCs not as tools for the user, but explicitly as surveillance machines.
And he's not speaking in vague, abstract terms here. He points to very specific features to prove his point.
We absolutely have to mention the controversy around Windows Recall.
Oh, yeah. This system is designed to continuously capture screenshots of your desktop activity, creating a searchable history of literally everything you do on your computer.
For the author, this isn't just a helpful search function, that's just the marketing spin.
No, for him, it's an infrastructure built for monitoring from the ground up. It's Exhibit A that these systems are designed primarily for data collection and control, not for user freedom or privacy.
And this is where his frustration really escalates into this extreme sociological analogy. And again, we have to report this impartially.
Absolutely. He draws a direct parallel between these modern surveillance systems and what he calls a soft totalitarianism.
He contrasts it with the classic, brutal North Korean model, where phones are restricted and monitored, but only for the elite, and watching forbidden media can be a capital offense.
He argues that while our modern systems lack that overt physical brutality, they're just as effective at being controlling, manipulative, and conducive to brainwashing through constant digital oversight and the curated algorithm-driven feeds that govern our information flow.
The implication is really clear. Even if you're wealthy and powerful, the very tools you depend on, your Windows PC, your Android phone, are inherently compromised. They are working against you.
So the question becomes, how does he, as one individual, fight back against this pervasive hostile infrastructure?
Through what he calls the battle for customization.
And this is a truly remarkable demonstration of digital self-sovereignty. His philosophy is, if the systems won't work for him, he will force them to comply.
He relies heavily, and I mean heavily, on macros and custom scripts to dictate the behavior of his devices. He's constantly overriding the defaults and what he calls the corporate intelligence.
We get a really deep look into his advanced computer management style here. He doesn't just use a standard desktop.
No, he maintains multiple virtual desktops. These are dedicated, separate environments for his highly specialized tasks.
One for writing, one for complex financial trading, another for video processing, one for audio editing, one for general browsing. This segmentation is absolutely key to how he maintains his focus.
And he found the default Windows method of cycling through these desktops, one by one, to be incredibly inefficient.
It's slow and disruptive. If you're on desktop 1 and you need to get to desktop 9, you have to click through 7 other desktops to get there.
So he was so frustrated by this that he installed third-party code, a hack, basically, just to be able to jump directly from desktop 1 to 9 with a single command.
And that level of technical effort just shows his absolute refusal to be limited by anyone's default settings.
But the most salient, the most frustrating technical conflict he details involves his Logitech dial device.
Ah, yes. This is a physical input tool, a puck-like dial, that's designed to speed up workflows with custom shortcuts.
But Logitech's own proprietary software consistently gets in the way and overrides the meticulous scripts that he writes for it.
We should really elaborate on this specific technical frustration because it perfectly encapsulates this battle between the corporation and the power user.
So he writes a specific script for the dial. Let's say when he presses it, he wants it to open his messaging app, like WhatsApp. A simple command. Open this program.
Right. But when he presses the dial, Logitech's software intercepts that signal before his script can run. And instead of just executing his simple command, the proprietary software enforces its own smart behavior.
So what happens?
The Logitech software checks, is WhatsApp already open somewhere? If it is, the software will switch the focus to that window.
Okay, that's sort of useful, I guess.
But if the app is closed, the Logitech software recognizes the application, decides it doesn't know how to handle opening it from scratch, and just does nothing.
It does nothing, it just fails.
Fails completely. It totally ignores the user's intent and enforces its own rigid, pre-programmed, and frankly, limited logic.
He describes this feeling that these companies are imposing their idea of smart behavior on you, and they actively refuse to work for the highly tailored, specific needs of a user like him.
It's deeply controlling. It's infuriating.
So, okay, we have painful hardware, we have hostile software, and proprietary systems that are actively intercepting his commands. It sounds like an impossible digital war zone.
It does. It sounds hopeless.
Yeah.
And yet, there is one technological force that he views as the greatest breakthrough of our time, the ultimate liberator.
And that is artificial intelligence.
The contrast is just dramatic. In stark opposition to the restrictive hardware and the proprietary software, AI, specifically large language models like ChatGPT, have been absolutely revolutionary for him.
It's the tool that finally allows him to gain that digital sovereignty he craves without needing to go back to school and become a professional software developer.
AI lets him do the one thing he couldn't easily do before: write custom code, build complex automations and workarounds to change the fundamental behavior of Windows and Android.
He can now bend the operating systems to his will, even though he doesn't formally know how to code himself.
The AI acts as his personal translator, turning his complex intent, his what I want to happen, into functional scripts that actually work.
And the sheer volume of these workarounds is just impressive.
It's a lot. He currently runs approximately 50 macros on his Android phone.
For what? Custom shortcuts? Automating tasks?
Enhanced privacy features, you name it. And on his PC, he's running roughly 100 macros to manage his virtual desktops, automate file movements, and optimize his entire trading and writing workflow.
These automations are his digital armor.
That's a great way to put it. They're the mechanism by which he imposes his order onto these hostile, data-hungry operating systems. He's forcing them to get closer to his requirements for efficiency and privacy.
He still deeply distrusts Windows and Android.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But AI provides the technical muscle to fight them to a standstill.
But even with this liberation, he still maintains a very pragmatic caution.
He does. He considers rooting his phones, which, for listeners who don't know, would give him complete, deep-level control over the operating system.
It would let him truly eliminate all the surveillance features.
But the risk is just too high.
And why is that? Why the hesitation?
Well, first, rooting the device risks breaking it. You're breaking it permanently. But the bigger issue is incompatibility. Many modern finance and banking apps rely on heightened security checks, and those checks will often fail if they detect that the device has been rooted. They just won't run.
So it's a pragmatic acceptance that in a world that runs on digital finance, he can't afford to go completely off the grid.
Exactly. He has to coexist with certain system constraints to function in the world.
So this move from the digital war zone to the external physical world reveals a very similar theme for him, just pervasive chaos and decay.
Yeah, the author shifts his focus to broader societal frustrations, and he argues that the external world is just as unstable and broken as the operating systems he's fighting.
He starts with these really powerful local anecdotes from his life in Switzerland.
And his experience illustrates what he sees as a serious decline in social trust. He points to the issue of package theft.
Right. Delivery people leave these high-value parcels, and they are frequently stolen.
And for him, this isn't just a minor inconvenience. It forces him to spend significant amounts of his time driving around to pick up packages at multiple different distribution points all over town.
It adds this massive personal inefficiency to his life, all due to what he sees as a lack of basic honesty among his neighbors and community.
And the chaos isn't just limited to petty crime like that. He details a much more disturbing personal incident.
This is the encounter with the aggressive man walking barefoot in the dead of winter.
Yeah, a man who, he says, seemed to be actively seeking a confrontation, a fight, for no apparent rational reason.
It wasn't a misunderstanding or an argument. It was just a pure eruption of random social volatility and aggression.
And he extrapolates a really far-reaching conclusion from these seemingly small, isolated events.
For him, they're not isolated. They're clear symptoms that society is more chaotic and fundamentally unsafe than it used to be.
He perceives a complete collapse of social trust compared to previous generations. He actually cites the 1930s through the 1980s as a period of far greater communal stability and predictability.
And this perception of moral and social decline, this is the direct fuel for his political and philosophical response.
It is. And it's important now, as we move into his political critique, that we continue to report his views in detail because they explain his worldview, but that we maintain absolute, strict impartiality.
Absolutely. We are reporting on his beliefs, not endorsing them.
So the author holds these extremely strong beliefs about systemic control.
Yeah.
He believes, for instance, that mass immigration is, and this is his phrase, by design,
He sees it as a deliberate strategy that's executed by elites.
and used to foster instability, distraction, and ultimately more control over the general population.
He argues that the global and local elites, they operate from this position of isolated comfort, totally shielded from the chaos they supposedly create.
While the ordinary working populace is, in his view, actively treated like cattle or slaves by the state, the bureaucracy, and the financial system.
His view is that the system is fundamentally corrupt. It's broken. And it's beyond the point of any kind of repair or democratic reform.
He sees it as completely unfixable.
So, given that extreme diagnosis, that the external system is actively hostile, unfixable, and decaying, his prescribed response is pretty dramatic.
He abandons the whole idea of civic reform entirely. He just pivots towards this radical personal survivalism,
The imperative is not to fix the system.
but to learn to survive inside it.
And this brings us to the core of his philosophical defense strategy, the creation of an internal fort.
This fort is a purely mental and emotional construct. It's designed to establish this extreme distance from what he calls the surrounding madness.
It's a protective, insulating layer designed to ensure the survival and the mental health of himself and his immediate family.
And the mechanism for creating this distance is fascinating, and it's deeply personal.
He explicitly states that he feels less of an obligation toward the long-term future or the stability of society because he has no children.
And at lack of a direct generational stake, allows him to accept the possibility of total societal collapse, an apocalypse, as he puts it, with a greater degree of calmness.
Because he has no descendants who are relying on the continued functioning of the external world.
It's the ultimate survivalist rationale, really. It's freed from the traditional pressures of building a legacy for your children.
And the foundational material that he uses to build this internal fort, the psychological armor, is Stoicism.
He relies on it intensely. Stoic philosophy is his tool for mental grounding, for tuning out all the external noise and decay.
He even reads his own work, his philosophical text, The Way of the Stoic Diamond, often using smart glasses while he's out on his walks.
He's turning his own content consumption into this fully mobile, integrated experience.
Which raises a critical question. Why Stoicism specifically? Why is that the perfect philosophical tool for the reality that he perceives?
Well, because the world, in his view, is characterized by the very chaos, absurdity, and suffering that he's described.
Right, both in the digital surveillance machines and in the breakdown of local trust.
And Stoicism provides this robust framework that's necessary to endure that inevitable reality, to maintain your inner balance regardless of external circumstances or the actions of other people.
It teaches you to control your internal judgments about external events.
Exactly. For someone who is convinced that the system is trying to control him, monitor him, treat him like cattle, the Stoic separation of what is within his control, his thoughts, his judgments, and what is outside of it, politics, bureaucracy, theft.
That separation is the ultimate act of intellectual defiance.
So if the goal is survival inside this fort, what does a meaningful life actually look like within those constraints?
It begins with a very strong critique of modern economic motivation, which he sees as totally antithetical to true freedom.
And that's the obsession with instant gratification.
He argues that modern society just pushes people to seek these immediate guaranteed payoffs. Quick wins, guaranteed returns.
Which is exactly why they willingly lock themselves into these 9-to-5 bullshit jobs, as he calls them.
They trade their long-term potential and their freedom for short-term, predictable security.
And he counters this with a really sharp financial insight that's rooted in patience and long-term analytical thinking.
He says you don't need to be constantly trading or making dozens of mediocre investments. You only need a few really good financial decisions in your life.
If you're strategic and patient enough to hold on to them and just let them compound over time.
The ultimate financial goal, then, isn't just about personal comfort. It's about securing freedom for the future.
He champions the strategy of creating generational wealth.
So that any potential descendants would never need to rely on these system-controlled, low-autonomy jobs.
It's this kind of thinking, this strategic, critical, analytical thinking that you need to identify those few good decisions, is completely absent from our traditional educational systems.
And this gap leads us directly to the ultimate toolkit that he advocates for achieving freedom.
He firmly believes that you only need 3 skills to avoid getting stuck in that controlled system and those meaningless jobs.
These are the 3 essential life skills that he believes everyone has to develop for themselves.
The first is critical thinking.
This is the ability to look beneath the surface, right? To question every assumption, to dismantle the official narratives.
Whether they come from the government, from corporations, from the media, it's that constant intellectual skepticism. You need to see the world as it really is, free from manipulation.
The second skill, which is often confused with the first, is analytical thinking.
Right. And this is less about questioning why and more about calculating how. It's the practical skill of processing complex data, identifying patterns and making strategic long-term decisions.
Especially in finance and personal logistics, this is the skill you need to identify those few good financial decisions we just talked about.
And the third skill, of course, is Stoicism.
And we've established its role. It's the necessary emotional and psychological infrastructure that you need to endure the world's inevitable suffering and chaos.
It's what ensures the internal fort remains intact while the external world decays around you.
So these three skills, they form the core of his self-directed curriculum. And his method for teaching and reinforcing them is his own massive creative output.
He views his content creation as intrinsically more valuable than formal schooling or university. For him, it's his personal active method for continuous learning, research, and growth.
And the sheer diversity of his output really proves this commitment. His YouTube channel is focused on applying philosophy.
Stoicism, of course, but also these practical critiques of overconsumption. He's a big advocate for the no-buy movement.
He teaches by doing. He's turning his own personal growth into public research for others.
He also uses his personal passions as vehicles for intellectual growth. Take his regular poker lessons with a teacher.
The structure of these lessons is key, isn't it?
It is. They dedicate time to having philosophical discussions first, applying critical thinking to life problems, and then they get into analyzing specific poker hands.
So it forces the application of probability and analytical thinking in a real-world scenario. It's a holistic learning environment.
And then the intellectual output is formalized through his 5 books, including The Stoic Samurai and The Way of the Diamond. These are the tangible results of his long, consistent effort.
Now, this intense creative endeavor, it's not cheap.
Not at all. He's very transparent about the high costs involved. He spends a lot of money on specialized paid tools, on annual software subscriptions with limited credits.
And as we've seen, on expensive and often frustrating hardware like the Exoskeleton and smart glasses.
But this investment really reveals his true motivation. He insists that he would still do all of it, every bit of it, even if he never generates a single dollar back from the content.
The real payoff for him is the intrinsic passion for learning, for researching, for experimenting.
It's the reward of being a pioneer in this walking drone vlogging style and constantly stretching his own intellectual boundaries.
And that drive for meaningful long-term effort is just beautifully contrasted by his upcoming project.
Yes, the interviews with his young Italian piano teacher.
She performs at a very high artistic level, and he plans to use her mastery as a focal point for a philosophical discussion.
This is a crucial, reflective segment in his whole manifesto. The planned discussion topics are so meaningful.
The first is work ethic, exploring the intense, disciplined, hard work that's required to achieve true mastery in any domain.
And the second is music and meaning. Her views on the artistic life, on fulfillment, and on creating something beautiful and lasting in an unstable world. They'll likely speak in French, he says, maybe mixed with some English.
And he sees high-level piano performance as the ultimate example of something truly meaningful.
A stark contrast to the hollow pursuit of just instant financial security or short-term gratification.
The years of time invested in perfecting a difficult skill, that for him is the definition of deep, consistent, meaningful effort.
And this deep dive into true mastery naturally leads to his final, forceful critique. The complete rejection of escapism.
He lists all the common modern distractions that he sees as corrosive to self-mastery.
Social media scrolling, constant notifications, passive television, mainstream entertainment.
And using alcohol, drugs, or even excessive travel purely for the sake of distraction.
These activities, in his view, they don't create meaning. They merely serve to numb the pain of existence.
They're temporary fixes that distract you from the deep work, the consistent effort, and the necessary philosophical grounding that are required for true fulfillment and for building that internal fort.
Genuine satisfaction, he concludes, is reserved for those who commit to that long, consistent effort and learning. And this allows him to look back on his life and truthfully say,
I did a lot of research. I produced thousands of videos. I learned a lot by doing this.
That sustained creative output, fueled by stoicism and technical mastery, that is the reward itself. So this deep dive really reveals a central driving paradox. The author is applying ancient Stoic wisdom to try and defeat the chaos of modern life.
Both the societal decay he perceives and the pervasive constraints of surveillance technology.
He's fighting fire with fire, in a way. He's viewing AI not as another dependency, but as a strategic weapon. A tool for achieving personal sovereignty by forcing these hostile systems to finally serve his creative and philosophical goals.
It's a truly fascinating blueprint for self-mastery in a world that often seems actively designed to prevent it. His entire strategy for navigating this difficult world is really distilled into a practical, repeatable toolkit for you, the listener.
The mastery of critical thinking, the disciplined application of analytical thinking, and the ultimate enduring resilience that's provided by Stoicism.
That's the toolkit.
And finally, I think we should reflect on the implications of his really radical approach to survival. The author rationalizes his profound detachment from collective societal outcomes, his calm acceptance of potential collapse, and his intense focus on the internal fort as a direct consequence of having no descendants.
Which raises a crucial question for you to consider as you go about your day.
Does achieving that level of deep, resilient self-preservation, building a personal internal fort, does it inherently require a degree of detachment from collective civic engagement? And if so, what are the ethical and practical trade-offs involved in prioritizing that self-sovereignty over a shared responsibility for the future of the community?
That is certainly a powerful note to end on, especially as you look at your own phone, your own software, and maybe evaluate your own toolkit of critical and analytical skills today. Thank you for joining this deep dive into Stoicism, exoskeletons, drone-guided philosophy, and the intense battle for digital and philosophical freedom.
The machine watches, but who watches the machine?
Do you ever dream about technology before it actually exists? Today, I'm going to introduce to you one technology that didn't exist before, or at least not to a level that I could use it. Now it's still very painful because it only gives me an autonomy of 15 minutes. After 50 minutes, I have to change the battery and start over. The technology I dreamed about is having a cameraman that follows me around so that I don't have to think about the camera, so that I don't have to hold a gimbal in my hand, so that I don't have to watch a phone or any other device where my face is. Think about, am I in the center? Am I framed correctly? I don't have to think about all that. I dreamed about a cameraman following me around during my talks. Unfortunately, I'm not wealthy enough to pay a human to follow me around. Today I tried because for the first time, the cameraman I'm talking about now exists. Technology made it possible. I wanted to show you that experience with that cameraman. How it went the first time I used it. None of my friends wanted to help me and come with me. I only did get less than 1 hour, because the sun sets very early at 5 o'clock where I'm now. It is really cold outside, around 0 degrees. There's snow, it's cold now. For a test, just to see if it works, if I can use it. Since last week, my session with my poker teacher failed. The video failed. I still have the audio, the video failed. I can combine it. I can make you an introduction, explain to the new way I'm thinking about vlogging. Once I've done that, give you my poker lesson, where we talk about some interesting philosophical structure before we talk about poker, and we talk about some poker hands as usual. Last time the video didn't work. I only got the audio because I didn't have time to set it up correctly, and I did get new screen and everything messed up, and the video failed last time. But it's not the end of the world because we still have the audio, and I can introduce to you right now the new technology. I actually don't enjoy having a phone in front of me and a gimbal and looking that my microphone works, that I'm in frame, I'm centered, that the gimbal does its job and all that. I'm actually not interested in that. I just want to talk about a subject that I find interesting. The subject I did research and I want to share with you. I'm not interested in having a phone in front of my face working around with that. I don't mind doing that if that's the only solution. I might still do it. The cameraman now is good because he does the video. He won't do the audio because the audio will have to be edited to make it pleasant to listen to and fluid. He will do the video. He does that great. He always follows me just as a cameraman should do. The only issue is every 50 minutes I have to change his battery, then I have to go again. My idea is to do it like the Stoics did in the past. Because Stoicism at the beginning was just a philosopher going for a walk and people joining him. and asking him questions, trying to understand his way of thinking, what they can learn from him, how they could get a better life. A life that is more meaningful, a life that could actually make them happy. It's a very humble thing. You just go for a walk. That's what did all the others. You join him and you have a chat with him like you would have with a friend. I really like that. I want to do the same with you. But the only way for me to do it is by doing a vlog. Technology is limited nowadays because the things I really want to do, I still can't do it. I'm getting closer to being able to do what I want to do. This cameraman that follows me around is one of the examples. From time to time, when I don't want to walk with a gimbal, I'll just use that cameraman. Yes, I have to change his battery every 15 minutes. What can I do? I will have to change 6 batteries for 1.5 hours. That's no fun. But it doesn't take 5 hours to take up a battery. It takes like 30 seconds. Take the pain, change the battery every 50 seconds. For the audio that I will put on the image, then we walk somewhere, see how the weather was. You hear my thoughts. Do my lips really have to move? It is better if they move, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. It's great to have the thought of a philosopher, even if his lips don't move. That isn't so important. I might do the classic way with a phone and a gimbal in my hand from time to time. But I want to introduce the new way where the cameraman just follows. You get the edited version of my audio on top of it. That could be very nice. For me, it's great because at my age, I have to think about health. I have to do an exercise from time to time. While I do that and the cameraman follows me, I can use my exoskeleton in resistant mode. If I do that 1 hour, go for a walk 1 hour, then I will have done a real exercise. It's like if you want to walk in water, it's much harder with the exoskeleton in resistance mode. The only issue is that I've bought 2 and one gets only delivered next year. The other one failed twice. Once the motor failed, once some screws broke. Twice I had to send them back. With the screws, I asked them to just send me the screws, but they didn't agree. They want me to send him the entire unit back, then they will send me a new unit. I already received 2 and I will receive a third one. I have it less than a year. 90% of the time, it does not work. Technology is really painful at the beginning. It takes an eternity until it gets somewhat good. They do everything they can actually to mess it up. For smartphone, there's a lot of crap on it that makes it very painful to use. In North Korea, they actually introduced for the elite a couple of smartphones. It is surveillance at a very high level. You only can install stuff that is pre-approved from the government. It takes a screenshot just as Windows does a couple of times a day. It changes depending on your behavior. They want to look more into it, then they take more screenshots. It is very dangerous because if you get exposed to media of South Korea, the US, then there's the death penalty on it. It's surveillance at a very high level. It's of course only for the elite in North Korea because nobody else could ever afford a phone in North Korea. They don't have money to buy rice. How are they going to buy a phone? Technology makes everything very hard. For example, I'm using a lot of macros on my Windows. The last thing I had to install is how to jump from one virtual desktop to a next. There's a switcher you can install, but you need to write code for him. You can download the script and it helps, but you still have to write code for it and make it work. And then you dial pad from Logitech and they mess it up. Nearly everything that Logitech can mess up, they do mess it up. Because actually they override the script that I create that does the thing I want to do, open an app or whatever. They change the script because they realize that the script is for something. And then they behave really different than what I want to do. For example, very basic stuff. If I want to open WhatsApp on my PC, I do that very little. WhatsApp, I get batch notification at 7 in the evening. The rest of the time, WhatsApp is blocked. Let's say on my PC, I want to quickly check before a meeting if I did get a WhatsApp message. Well, then I want not to have to click on the icon myself. I just want to have a shortcut that opens the WhatsApp. Now, the guys, instead of running my script, the guys from Logitech did actually block my script. They realize that it has something to do with WhatsApp, and then they redirect me to WhatsApp if it's open. If it's not open, they do nothing because it's in the trail, the start trail. So I can't even use WhatsApp in the correct way because they just overwrite my script. It's very hard to find a workaround. People, instead of making your life easy, they make it more complicated because they use your PC as they want it to be used, but not as I want it to be used. For example, I have 9 virtual desktop with a lot of screens on every one of them. I don't want to circle when I'm on desktop to 1. I cannot go from 1 to 9 directly in reverse because that doesn't work. I have to go to 2, then 3, then 4 until I end up on 9. Now that is madness. It takes a very long time. I just wanted a switcher. To create a switcher, you have one to find the app. It's not an app, it's just some code on GitHub. Download that. Then there's some code you have to keep, and there's some code you have to rewrite. Now I have my 9 shortcuts. I can switch directly from any screen. I have one virtual desktop for writing, I have one virtual desktop for reading, I have one virtual desktop for producing videos, I have one virtual desktop for editing, I have one virtual desktop for trading. It's very easy. If I want to go from 1 to 9, it's just a click on my dial pad. Logitech, instead of making that easy, they made it as complicated as possible. They went to the extent when I asked them to run some code to run it differently. They tell you that is because it's smart. It interacts. I don't want it to be smart. I want it to do the stuff I want it to do. If you have a lot of time to waste and you're willing to write a lot of code, I don't know how to write code. I know what the basics of it. If you're willing to waste days with ChatGPT trying to find a solution, you will at the end. You have to be smart, you have to know what you're doing, you have to keep talking with him until it works. Normally there's a way around, there's a workaround. And even if Logitech messed everything up because they run code as they wanted to run and not as I wanted to run, well, you still find a solution. It's a lot of workaround. You have to trick him into not acting as they programmed him to act. Now that is madness to me because it makes my life so hard. I did find a solution, but you have to make sure that there's no WhatsApp in the code, anything related to it. Because if not, he associated with the behavior he thinks you want. That's not the behavior I want. It has nothing to do with what I want. It's just something some guy from Logitech, some engineer from Logitech who thought that if it's WhatsApp, then it has to behave that way. What's that madness? The idea is just that you have to be very persistent, work a lot. Even if I hate Windows and I also hate Android, I hate all those OSs because they're just spying machines. It's close to North Korea. It's not so bad. You don't get executed instantly. It's still really bad. It's a way of brainwashing you. Everybody is totally addicted to it. But still, on PC, actually, it is a little easier. On Windows, it is a little easier to write code to change the behavior of Windows. It's a little easier than on Android. Android, it's very painful. I have a lot of macros on Android. It's very painful. Now, to come back to my subject, did you ever think about technology before it actually exists? To me, that happens a lot. One stupid example, a vacuum. I'm really not interested in any vacuums. I just want them to do their job, to circle around in my rooms and have it a little clean so that I don't have to think about it and I can do the stuff I'm interested in, like talking to you, producing, playing poker, analyzing the markets, writing my sixth philosophic book. I'm interested in that. I'm not interested in cleaning. It took like 20 years to get a robot vacuum that is actually any good. I bought the first one that came out and I kept buying them. I bought more than 5, between 5 and 10, probably 8 of them. I don't remember the exact number. I kept buying and buying, and it's only now, the latest that I got, the price is the cheapest. This one is the first one that is actually any good. That's the first one that actually cleans nicely. The first one that doesn't mess up until now. That isn't too bad. The only thing is you have to buy the extras like the cleaning bag because it has a station. The dust gets pulled out of the vacuum and put in a cleaning bag of 3 liters. And you have to buy them. They are like $20 for 5 of them. Like $5, one bag. Once you add to buy extras. The extras they want you to buy are very highly priced. But the unit itself isn't that expensive. The idea is they want to have people who keep buying their stuff, that it's like a subscription model. That's why the unit is probably not that expensive. It took 20 years to get a vacuum. Now, 20 years for me, that's a long time to wait for a vacuum that is actually any good. But in the end, I have something that is better. Unfortunately, they will put planned obsolescence on it. Probably in 2 years, I will have to buy one more. I'll try to use it as long as possible, but when it stops working and you have to switch to the new one. It takes a long time. And with the cameraman I'm talking about, I think you get it. It's a drone. The cameraman I'm talking about, I thought about that. I thought, why do I have to hold a gimbal? Why do I have to think about being in frame, making sure that the audio is synced? Why doesn't it just do the job? And I can just think about talking, not having to have the technology in front of my face. Just the technology works for me. The cameraman is one of those examples. I'll do that more in the future. I'll go for a walk with my exoskeleton. The last one I sent back, they sent me a replacement unit, which they should already have done last week. I hope they do it next week. I hope I have it soon. And then I can use my exoskeleton while I go for a walk, make an exercise, and the same occasion, produce some content, some audio content for you. I can talk while I'm walking to my microphone, which will record on an SD card. Then I can edit it and put the audio just under the video while editing it, once the audio is edited correctly. That's a great way to do the vlogging, because if you don't edit your audio, then it's very annoying for people who listen to it. It only gets nice once you edited it. The magic of editing the audio track must happen. If not, it is very annoying for people who listen to you. To me, this is great because I can go for a walk and I can also share my opinions with you. In 2 or 3 generations, everything will be just better with the cameraman, the drone that follows me. Because then instead of getting 50 minutes on a charge, I might get 30 minutes or 1 hour on a charge. Then I don't have to switch every 15 minutes the batteries. I hope you appreciate the effort I make by producing all the content I produce for you, all my research. I hope you will enjoy me talking about the subjects that I find interesting. This is for the introduction to my new vlogging style. Today, for me, it was just a test. I don't have the exoskeleton. I didn't know how the cameraman, my drone, would behave. In the future, if I'm happy with the content, once I've edited it, I already looked at the video. I'll do that more. I can do some sports. Instead of going to a gym, I go for a walk. And I can have a talk with you and talk about something that I find really interesting and that I did a lot of research on. The last subject I talked about was overconsumption and the no-buy movement. Yes, I spent a lot of money on this YouTube channel because all the tools that I use, and I use a lot of them, they're all paid tools. And I always have to pay a subscription for an entire year. Sometimes the subscription, because it's a certain amount of credits you get during a year, the subscription runs even out before the end of the year. And then you just have to buy a new subscription for 1 more year before the year is actually over, because you ended up using all the credits you had for 1 year. Yes, I spend a lot of money on this YouTube channel. I do a lot of efforts to produce content, to produce it in the best quality I can. It's a one-man job. Nobody helps me. Today, I wanted somebody to film what I'm doing. You could see that. My first time using the cameraman, the drone that follows me. But nobody was willing to give me a hand. It's a one-man job. Since I now have a cameraman that follows me around, there's much more that I can do. It opens a door to a lot of things that weren't possible before. That's one of those technologies that appear after a certain time. The greatest breakthrough for me, the most important one, was AI. I would hate using my phone. I would hate using my PC if I couldn't write code and change the behavior of my Android phone. A little Android phone is really blocked. Unless you get root access, it is really hard. Maybe once I'll get a phone that I root. It's just once you root a phone, then a lot of apps won't work anymore, because they have written them to detect if there's route. When there's route, then they won't run. For me, who does things related with finance, all those apps stop instantly running. It's really hard for me to route a phone. If the route doesn't work, well, then you wasted $300, $500 on a phone that won't work anymore. I'm not sure you can make a factory reset in that case. I don't know. But it could mess up your phone really bad. Not everything runs once you root. Normally, I only use Shizuku. I would hate to a very high degree if I could not change the behavior of my Windows 11 and also my Android. I do that to a high extent. I have like 50 macros on my Android phone running all the time. It makes it a little better. And also I have maybe 100 macros running on my PC. I did change a lot. I tried to get rid, of course, of the surveillance, the screenshots they take, recall, they call it recall on Windows every 5 seconds. I think I managed to disable that. A lot of other spying behavior. There's a way to make it less intrusive, to have it behave as you want. All those people like Logitech, they should work for you. Instead of working, they work, I don't know for who. I don't know who likes the behavior. That when you write a script, it gets inured, they run it, whatever they want to run. Instead of you being able to decide what your Logitech MX Creative dial pad does. That's just one dial pad. I have a second one. I'm receiving a third one next year. All that to say that life is hard. It is hard if you want to do stuff and it gets really expensive. The good thing is I really enjoy what I'm doing and I want to do more of it in the future. So I hope you appreciate it a little. I hope you also find the discussion with my poker teacher interesting, that you don't mind the new format. I know that my lips won't be moving when I do it with the new format. I don't think it's a necessity for you to see my lips moving. To hear my voice, hear my thoughts, that's already a lot. If you can see a nice scenery, I live close to a lake, I think that's also nice. So I'll do that more in the future. I hope there's somebody out there that appreciates a little my effort, and if not, doesn't matter, I still find it interesting and I'll still keep doing it. Even if I only spend money and get nothing back ever, I still would do it because I'm passionate about it. It's like when you play the piano, because I'm not a professional pianist. The more I play, the more I enjoy. On that subject, next week I will introduce to you my piano teacher because she is not shy. She's a young Italian woman. She's willing to give a couple of interviews. We will talk about an ethic of work, why it's a good idea if you work a lot, not on anything, on stuff that has some meaning. I will have a discussion with her because she said something very interesting once during one lesson. I think we can develop that and think about that. That will be one interview. There will be another one where she talks about music. I'm planning to do a couple of interviews with my piano teacher, that young Italian woman. She actually would like to stay in Switzerland. I'm not sure if she managed. She could, who knows if she does, what has to be done so that she could stay in Switzerland. She talks English. We could do it in English, but I think we'll just talk in French because it is more natural to us to talk in French. Maybe we'll do a couple of interventions in French. Maybe she agrees to do one in English too. After saying all that, I'll let you listen to my session with my teacher, which is the one I had 2 weeks ago. I get back to you as soon as I have a new subject. I did a lot of technical stuff, that my screens work around me, that the basic stuff like cleaning my room is all taken care of. I can concentrate more on what I'm doing, more on providing content for you that you can listen to. Please don't forget to check my 3 books, the Stoic Samurai, my 4th book. I've written 5 books, so don't forget to check them out. My 4th book is a Stoic Samurai. My 5th book is The Way of the Diamond. The link is in the description. Don't forget to check them out. I wish you the best. I hope you find the discussion I had with my poker teacher interesting. I know that it's interesting. I'm editing it. Once it's edited, it should be very interesting. With my poker teachers, we always spend some time where we just talk about some philosophic subject and then we look at some hands. I'll see you soon because I really enjoy what I'm doing, the research I'm doing, the videos I publish. I learn a lot while I do that. That's why I do it. For me, it's way better than any school could ever be. or whatever I could learn in any university or any polytechnical schools. For me, it's just the best. The thing with money is you only have to take a couple of good decisions during your life, and the rest will just happen by itself. If you're smart and you take a couple of good decisions, then the rest will happen by itself. The issue with people is that they want instant reward. They want instant gratification. They want to be sure that if they work 1 month, they get paid that much. Because they are so dependent on instant reward, they can never think about the future, never do anything that has any meaning. Don't think that I make any exception of people. My piano teacher, it's one exception. She does something very beautiful. Playing the piano at her level, it's awesome. It's awesome at my level. At her level, it's even better. She does something that has a lot of meaning. It's not sure that she actually knows it. We'll find out during the interview why it's important, why she should keep playing and producing. She wants to be a performer, a producer, and I'm sure she can do great. I hope that she'll allow me to share her content on my channel with you. I have a channel post, the pieces I play. Maybe once I'll put the link in the description. You can take a look at it. Piano teacher, of course, she's at a higher level than I am. People never have time to find anything that has any meaning. They just do what Kim Jong-un told them to do in school. They think that that's life. They never ask questions. They know that they have no right to ask questions. It's like in school. I never had the right to ask any question to any of my teachers. That would be madness. I would be expelled immediately. Of course, you can ask questions, stupid questions. Have a real talk. Learn something that has any meaning or that could help anybody on earth. That you can forget. There's a book, it's called Bullshit Jobs. That's all they produce for you, bullshit job. Everything could be automated a long time ago, like 1 or 2 centuries ago. It's abundance. There's no reason that anybody should not have enough to survive. There's no reason on this earth. Last time, when I had to pick some stuff up in town, why do I have to pick stuff up? Because it is mass immigration where I live. If I order stuff, it gets delivered to my building. The delivery guy puts it in the entrance of the building. Somebody passes and it disappears. And that happens a lot nowadays. The guy from the post office even told me that there are people who follow the delivery guy. As soon as he puts a package somewhere, they steal it. That wasn't the case in the 30s. That wasn't the case in the 50s. That wasn't the case in the 70s. That wasn't the case in the 80s when I saw the light of day. It was less the case in the 80s. It started then. Now you get only that. If you want to know how far the madness goes where I live, I'm in the most developed country on earth. Everybody thinks it's a paradise. It's not a paradise. It's a little less fucked up than the rest of the world. It's still fucked up to a very high degree. The difference exists. It's important. If you can have a slave master who treats you a little better, you shouldn't think it's nothing. It makes some stuff a little more pleasant. You have to be less stoic to survive if your slave master treats you a little better. For me, it makes no difference because I anyway cannot interact with him. I cannot talk with him. All that bureaucracy is just psychopathy. They treat humans inhumane. They treat humans like cattle. You should never treat any human being like that. There can never be any law that allows that kind of behavior towards any human being. I don't care who he is and what he has done. It is impossible to treat another human being in that kind of way. Here's what I have to live through. I'm sure in your place, you see even stuff that is even more fucked up than what I'm gonna tell you. Last time when I had to pick up the stuff in town because I cannot get the delivery in my building, they would steal it for me. I have to pick it up in town. And there are like 10 different delivery places. It's very annoying. You always have to contact the delivery guy and make sure he puts it at the right place. And sometimes he messes up and puts it somewhere else. It's still better than having him deliver it to your home where it gets still stolen. That wasn't the case in the past. It was never the case in the past. If you forgot your wallet, somebody would bring it back to you. Your ID, somebody would bring it back to you. I have a friend, she just lost twice her ID. There's a psychological issue with her because she lost twice her ID. Nobody brought it back. Nobody called her. Her name is on it. How come nobody puts it in an envelope and sent it to her? Things have changed. Here's the madness I have to live through. It's not every day. That's the first time that I've experienced that. That is what I have to live through in the most developed country on earth. Everybody thinks it's a paradise, but they have no clue what paradise is. For them, paradise is selecting the slave master every 5 years. You can forget about them. Here is what I have to live through. Last time, when I went to pick up the stuff I've ordered in town, it's around 1 degree. At that day, it was around 4 degrees. I saw a guy without shoes working barefoot in the streets while it's very cold. I found that strange because he had no shoes. He was dressed fine, but he had no shoes. By passing, I saw that he had no shoes. I kept walking. What do you want me to do? There's nothing you can do. You shouldn't interact with those kind of people. I keep walking. You know what? He starts to get violent. He wanted to fight. He wanted to have a fight with me. I didn't say one word. I didn't even look at him. I just saw he had no shoes. Now I have to see people in winter walking around without shoes. That's what I thought. I didn't say a word. I just passed next to him. Now, he did get violent, and he wanted to have a fight with me. That's the bullshit I have to live through. In the most developed country in Earth, if you fight, if you defend yourself, they put you in jail, and he keeps walking barefoot in the streets. It is fucked up to the highest degree possible. It is beyond repair. You cannot change it. The mentality of the elite has nothing to do with anything that can be approved. They live in their world. They don't care about mass immigration because they never face mass immigration. They don't face a guy in the streets without shoes. They don't care about that. They live in their villas that are worth 15, 30, 50 millions. They have their private jets. They go every year to Davos to listen to Klaus Schwab, or the new guy who is there is just as bad as Klaus Schwab. They don't care about you. Mass immigration is not a bug. Is by design. That is what they want, because they like much more the immigrants than they like people like me. I'm difficult. I would never do anything they say. An immigrant does whatever they say. He doesn't care about anything about politics. He doesn't know anything about law. He doesn't know anything about the past. He doesn't care about the future. The only thing he cares about that they don't send him back to his country. They have realized that. They have put it even in law. If he behaves a little like they don't want, they tell him, if that happens, we send you back. As soon as you say that, he does whatever they want. He doesn't ask a question. He doesn't care. He doesn't complain. He will never go to a manifestation. He doesn't care about anything. There's just one thing he cares about, that they don't send him back. Because here to him, it is amazing. It is beyond ever he could thought about. In his country, in the best case, he has $50 during a month. Maybe sometimes it goes up to 250. When he comes here, it is a lot more. He doesn't have to work 1 single hour. He doesn't have to do the slightest effort. Everything is taken care of by the system. They are very well assisted by the system. I'm not. If I need help, I get nothing. They get everything. The day they arrive, I have nothing special for today. I'll let you decide how we proceed for our meeting.
You propose some other rules for poker, essentially.
Fortunately, ChatGPT is only good up to a certain extent, because the question I asked him are mathematical. I thought he could answer them since he's good at math. He struggles a lot still. He doesn't understand what I'm talking about. And it was quite hard, but I got something out of him after trying for a couple of hours. And I wanted you to take a look at it. We don't have to do that now. Let's do it another time.
If you'd like to, although I would be interested to hear what rules you proposed.
Well, we talked about it. It's just that I think it's a little strange that you have to change who goes first, pre-flop and post-flop. I thought that too. I asked ChatGPT what it would change if we kept the same rule, try to still have a fair game, just to make it more simple. I thought that too, and ChatGPT came up with something that you can read and think about, and tell me next time what you thought about it, if you think it's all nonsense or if it makes some sense somewhat.
I think there are poker games where the order of play is always the same. I'm trying to think of which one is it. Not the limit hold'em, the most popular poker format. Somehow it's tough for me to remember. I usually just play the normal format of poker. I think there are some formats where the dealer button goes last every street.
The dealer button. Interesting. It exists. I didn't know. That kind of stuff ChatGPT should know. One thing really strange that I had to figure out is because the new monitor, you can use them with your fingers. They're tactile monitors. Because it has a touch function, I cannot use them while I'm playing poker because the casino thinks that I'm cheating. He doesn't allow me to log in when the monitors are on. If I pull the plug, then I can log in. If I put the monitor back on, I'm ejected instantly off the app. The app really doesn't like the monitor I bought. I've contacted support. I've explained the issues to them. I hope that one day they fix it. Until then, my only solution is to pull the plug and don't use them, which is really annoying. If I don't use them, well, then I cannot track my hands in Poker Tracker. That's one of the things. I could use the web interface, but I wouldn't be able to track my hands with Poker Tracker because for that I need to use the app.
What's good about touchscreen monitors?
It's just they come with touchscreen integrated. They are small monitors. They are not that big. They just come with it because it's new technology. Everything gets upgraded. The new monitors all come with that technology. Because of that, now they're not compatible with my casino. I hope that one day they fix it.
I didn't even know there were touchscreen monitors. It's news to me.
Have you never seen a laptop with a touchscreen?
Laptop, yes.
The nice thing is they weren't so expensive. They're really light. I can use them around me. I have one that I will use when I'm going outside. I want to project something. When you have to show some graphs, you sit around a table. Showing graphs on a small screen, if the person is in front of you, you have to put the monitor in between. If you look sideways at the screen, it's not great. Now I can use one of those monitors. I used my laptop monitor for me. I can give the other one to my client, show my client the charts I want to show her. And if she wants to scroll forward or backward on the chart and look around, she can interact with it. It has its advantages. They're more bright than they usually are. It's small incremental improvement. They were not so expensive. I even did get this with an extra battery. It has the same capacity as a big smartphone. I can use when I'm outside to power the monitor. I can also use just the PC to power it. If I don't use it for the monitor, well, I can use it for a phone or whatever I want. It came with it. It's a little extra. They're not so big. They're just 14-inch. I will receive one in 2 weeks. I think it's 17 inches, 2 monitors, one above the other. This one, I won't use it outside because it's a little heavier, a little bigger. The 14-inch ones, yes, one of them I will use it outside if I have a use case for it.
Sounds like you have a lot of monitors.
I like monitors. I really do. Because I don't like switching between windows. I like when they are all open. I can use different documents around me. I have a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tablets, 1, 2, 3 phones. That makes a lot of monitors, wouldn't you say?
Yes, it's like a hacker movie.
I do not spend a lot of money for a lot of stuff. For technology, I do. It's only good up to a certain extent. Tell myself I will use it all day long. That's the excuse why I buy all that stuff. But I shouldn't be just buying stuff just to upgrade or have a new thing. Actually, I'm not doing this. The old monitors, the monitor I look at you now, this one is very old. It's like 10 years or more, maybe 15 years old. I have never upgraded it. My camera I did upgrade, yes, to a 4K. But normally I'm not too much upgrading. Well, I try to argue and tell myself, because I spend a lot on technology, that it makes some sense. It does, since I work with it. I don't want the bill to be huge. It adds up over the years. I have ChatGPT twice. I have one more, GenSpark. I pay for them all every month. All that stuff adds up. It should still not be too much. There's a movement, a rebellious movement right now I try to study. It's called Buy Nothing. Those people don't want to participate in consumerism. They are against everything you buy. Cars, they're against holidays, they're against every luxury item. Also the constant upgrade to get a new smartphone, because all that stuff, if you buy flagship smartphones every 2 years, well, you easily spend 20K on them. Very fast, you are above 10, 20K. If I add up everything I've bought, it's probably way about 50K. that starts to be serious money. I tell myself I don't buy the really expensive stuff. For example, the headset from Apple, the reality headset from Apple, it's 3.5K. They made the first version a couple of years ago. Now there's a new version. The only thing that changes, if I'm not mistaken, it has a new processor. It's called M5. The last one was called M3 or M4. There are people who upgrade that and buy that on a continuous basis every 2-3 years, and they spend 3.5K. Then there's the same headset or close to it from Samsung. That's 1.7K. It's cheaper than the Apple headset. It's still quite expensive, especially if you have to replace it in 2-3 years just to get the latest and the fastest. Now, would I do the same if I'm extremely wealthy? Probably. I only would use it like 1 hour a day. Is it worth spending 50K, 100K during your life on virtual reality when you only use it 1 hour a day? Probably not. If I'm very wealthy, it doesn't matter. Probably I would use it because it's very nice. The technology is interesting. The graphics are better than the one I use from Meta now. I don't think it's madness. I just think that unless 5K every 3 years, if that's nothing for you, it's very little money because you make so much that doesn't matter, then okay, go for it. But if not, I don't think you should buy that kind of stuff because 3 years later it is obsolete. To me, it makes no sense. What do you think about that?
Big question. What they find valuable and what they can afford. What you said, 1 hour a day, 1 hour is a lot. Human is awake something like 16 hours, maybe around that time. 1 out of 16, that's a large amount of time. To do something 1 hour a day, in my mind, is not nothing. That's a considerable amount from the whole time. 1/16.
Well, that was a little optimistic. There are only 2 apps. One is a meditation app. The other one is sport app, fitness app. I actually don't use them every day. I just like from time to time to meditate in a virtual environment. I find it appeasing. When I don't have the time to go for a run, it's rainy, my exoskeleton is not working, well then I do half an hour in virtual reality just to do something. But I don't do it every day. It is between 30 minutes to 1 hour a day. Should be. There are days I skip. I don't do it always. It's nice to have. It's a luxury item. It's not absolutely necessary. Now, with all the apps I tried, it was quite expensive. If not, you can manage, I guess, with 500 USD or even less, 350, maybe 400 USD. If you really know what apps you want, you don't need a lot of gigabytes storage space, then you can go for the cheapest model. It would be just great. I did spend much more because I had to try all the apps to see which one I want to use. There's no point in talking too much about that. It's just I like actually the movement, buy nothing, that rebellious movement. It makes a lot of sense to me to not constantly buy stuff, always upgrade everything. Last year, I had the issue with the expensive scooter that I bought. I could do 80 kilometers with it without recharging, which is a huge distance. It was really fast, like 45 kilometers an hour. I think you could even go a little higher than that. I never went that fast. Because there are different levels, usually not in town. I normally don't go that fast. It was really nice, a really expensive scooter. If you had a hill with a slope that is extremely sharp, it managed to do it without any issue. It was very nice to have. Somebody stole it from me. I just spent money on it for nothing. Well, not for nothing. I could use it like 1 month before they stole it. I was over budget last year. I did spend more money than I wanted to spend because I know how much money I need for 1 year. I was over budget last year. This year's the same. I'm again over budget. For a different reason, I'm still over budget. I want to cease spending more money than I actually want to spend. If I spend money, I want to spend it on things that really matter to me, like piano lessons or poker lessons, not on stuff just because it's a new gadget or just because I think I must have it when I actually don't need it or somebody will just steal it from me. That makes no sense. I have to improve because I failed last year to live within my budget. This year again. Now I tell myself I can do it because I made the money, I can spend it, I don't have to take any credit for it. Still, it really adds up. It's not just one thing, it's all the things, the small things that add up. At the end of the year, it's much more than what I expect.
It's enjoyable to get a package. It's a little bit reminds of getting a gift on Christmas or something.
Somewhat enjoyable. For me, I want it to be useful. I want to use it because it has some utility. I don't want to buy stuff just to feel good. I think that's really bad. So I discovered Kickstarter. Do you know what Kickstarter is?
Yes, it's been around for a very long time, yes.
Have you already bought something on Kickstarter?
Well, I don't think you can really buy something there. In a way, if they start the project. I don't think I have. No.
I bought a couple of items this month on it. They can put the amount they want to reach. And if they fail to reach that amount, then they can not produce the product. But then you pay nothing. Usually, the amount they want to reach, they put it very low because they anyway want to produce the product. They just want some money to flow in, but they still only have a prototype. I did find a couple of stuff that I think is useful because it's the kind of technology that I was looking for, and they think that they can produce it. The people who looked at the prototype said that they are good. I did go for it, but I also have to stop that. I cannot be looking at all the new gadgets that come out. Every time I see something, I buy it. If I do that, I will be over budget next year also. I did buy like 4 or 5 things, like one scanner that is really fast. I have a really old one. He's half broken. This one is a scanner that takes pictures. It's much cheaper than what I bought, the big heavy scanner to scan documents. I was looking for it for a long time for that kind of technology where you can just put under a camera a picture that gets instantly scanned. The quality is high. I was looking for that for a long time. Until now it was like 800 or even 1.5K. The reviews weren't good. People didn't like them a lot. They were really expensive. The technology was not ready to be used. The one I bought was only for around 150. The review says that it's great. It's really fast, works very nice. They showed it, how it works. If it really is as good as the review, I don't think the guy was lying, then it's great. But the thing is, I still don't need every gadget. Now that I have bought 4 or even 5 Kickstarter things, some of them were below 100 USD. Now that I have bought that, I really want to stop. Next year, they will deliver those products and I don't look at the page anymore. Because if I do it, I find something that I find interesting, then I would go for it. I like gadget, new technology that you don't see in the shops. For me, the temptation to buy it is high. I don't want to buy stuff that I don't need. I know that I need a scanner. I make an exception for that scanner. For me, it's hard to resist. Technology, it's like a car or even worse than a car. It holds no value. You just pull money in it, it's obsolete 2, 3, 4 years afterwards. You have to be very skeptical of what you use, what you really need. You're in a better situation than I am. I started with the exoskeletons and now I have to constantly buy an exoskeleton. Every time it breaks down, it doesn't work anymore, I have to buy a new one. You go for a run without an exoskeleton, it's much better. But you're also younger than I am and maybe you have more willpower than I do. I know for me that if the exercise is too hard, too painful, then I will skip it. With the exoskeleton, I tell myself it might be only psychological. I tell myself I can do it, it's not that hard, I get some assistance. And then I go for the run. At the end, it has a real impact on my health. Everybody is always sick. My piano teacher is sick. I have to see my clinician. He has to renew some meds, just small stuff like vitamin D because I don't have enough sun. For me, it's good to take a supplement. Small stuff, nothing really important. He has to renew the prescription. He's also sick. Everybody's always sick. I never get sick. I never get the fever. I never get the flu. My natural immunity works quite fine. When I see people always sick, I really ask myself, what is it? They told me in the past, it's just because you have very little interaction with people. Now I use public transport. I still don't get sick. I don't think it's just the interaction with people that makes sure that I don't get sick. Normally, I still meet somebody, my clients from time to time in a restaurant or a cafe. Then there are people around, but I usually don't get sick. Now, it might change one day. For now, the natural immunity works quite nice for me. Since we talk about it, they have, I don't remember the name, Olympic or something like this. It's some meds. It's to make sure you lose weight. I might butcher the name or say it completely wrong. I heard something about it. You cannot buy that in Europe, but in the US you can buy it. The administration of Trump wants to make it even free. You don't have to pay for that, for those meds. They think that people will lose a lot of weight with them. That is awesome. It's banned in Europe. It makes sure that your stomach doesn't work anymore. It paralyzes your stomach. Because of that, you will lose weight. The issue is as soon as your stomach is not paralyzed anymore, you get back all the weight you lost. The side effects are really bad. You lose your teeth. Even your stomach being paralyzed is horrible because the food won't get digested and then they have to pump it out of your stomach. It's really horrible to put people on those meds. That's one of those things. People always want an easy solution. If you want to lose weight, well, you have to start fasting. Just fast. It's very good for your health. Fast all year long. You can fast 80% of the time easily. I did it. I didn't lose weight. I didn't gain weight. You will save money. You have less to go in town, in a supermarket and buy stuff. Just eat rice. Rice is very cheap. It's very easy to, you can eat it once or twice a day. If you do that 80% of the year, I'm sure a lot of people would lose a lot of weight. If you want to go in every restaurant, every McDonald's, eat every cake, every pizza, and you have tendency to put on weight, I think it's horrible to take a med that paralyzes your stomach. One of the side effects is to lose your teeth. You might be a little slimmer if you don't have any teeth left. It won't be that nice.
Maybe helps with losing weight when you don't have teeth, because then it's harder to eat.
Now we are horrible with morbid, obese people. When I work in town, there are always people eating. A lot of them aren't that slim. Why do they spend all day long in restaurants eating? The more stuff you put in your mouth, the more kilo you will gain. I don't fast 80% anymore. I put it down to maybe 60 or 50% of the time. Not 80% as in the past. But if I do it and I gain some pleasure out of it, I actually wonder if it wasn't better when I fasted more, like 80%, instead of just fasting 50%. But if I get pleasure out of it, and I don't have to do it because I'm not obese, I don't have overweight. If I get pleasure out of it, I find it interesting to do it. Why doesn't somebody who really has an issue with weight, why doesn't he try to fast? Start with 30%. Then when it's easy, do 50%. To the rest, 80%. Don't do 100% because you still need to get some vitamins, some meat, some vegetables. Don't do it 100% of the time. Up to 80, you can easily go. It's not so hard. I find it quite easy to do. I think it's actually better for my health because when I go buy stuff like croissants, sometimes there's chemical stuff inside, like some chocolate, strawberry. All that stuff is chemical. You have to be very careful with what you eat. Not everything you can buy should be eaten. I'll let you think about it and you can give me a reply. Once we have finished with the subject, we could do something related to poker, Norman, or talk about anything else.
I don't think I have a reply for now.
I did stop everything. Coffee, Red Bull, this energy drinks, everything. Even hot chocolate. Everything. The only thing I still drink is tea because I think it's the less harmful for my health. The older I get, the more I want to take care of my health. It's not so expensive. The good stuff doesn't cost much. You only drink tea. When you sit in a restaurant, you don't have to ask yourself 10 questions. What do I want to pick on the menu? Just ask for tea. Tea is more or less the same everywhere. It's always nice. I like every tea. Nearly every tea. I think there's one I don't like, orange tea. Sometimes there's tea with orange flavor. That is hard for me to drink. Apart from this one, everything I like. It's awesome to have just one thing you can concentrate on and forget all the rest. I think you should do that a lot in life. Try to get some mental peace. One more thing I have figured out, it was tonight, in the last 24 hours, a WhatsApp message. I wanted to write that message at 3 o'clock in the morning. The person I write that message to, I don't know her. I thought if I start writing a message to her at 3 o'clock in the morning, she will think that's very strange. I didn't do it. I thought technology could solve that issue. I tried everything possible. Everything was a failure. In the end, I did manage to find a solution. Now here's the thing. Won't be blocked at 9 o'clock in the morning for 15 minutes. I have an app. I can write a message and tell that app to whom to send the message at what time. So every message that I send to most people, will be sent at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I just write a message whenever I want. I tell him next day, send it at 9 o'clock in the morning. And the message gets sent. The rest of the time, WhatsApp is blocked. Every evening, I get all the batched messages. Why do I do that? Because I get the impression that I have control, that I know when my messages are sent, that I know when I have to look at them. That control makes it easier. When I'm in town and I see all those people always on the screen, always writing messages, always waiting for a call, always hoping that somebody will answer them, there's no peace of mind in that. The last thing I did was batching messages at 7 o'clock in the evening. Now I will send messages at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's great. When you write a message, maybe you change your mind. Actually, you don't want to send that message. Most of the time, it's not the case. If you change your mind, well, before the message gets automatically sent, you can just delete it. It won't get sent. That's also nice. It gives me the impression of control.
Yes, I hear you.
I don't want to be a slave to technology. I want to use it for the things I want to do. I do not want to be a slave to technology. If everybody can send me a message all day long, as soon as I get something, I start thinking of an answer and replying, well, then I will never be peaceful. I will never be able to concentrate really on the thing I am doing. It will be very hard for me to enter a flow state while playing poker, trading, or the piano. It will be very hard. I have to decide how much time of my day I spend with that kind of stuff. What people can do, what message they can send, what I want to read. My friend Marianne, don't look, I don't know what she writes. Since I've changed the ways with the batching, her name popped up at 7 o'clock in the evening. I saw that she did write me a message on Teams. I didn't read it. She keeps writing messages. I didn't speak to her for 1 or 2 months now. Didn't reply to her for 1 or 2 months. The idea is just, it's not because you're my friend. You can send me messages that you should send me any kind of crap messages. I did get mad with her. Not mad. I told her it's enough. Were mean messages. When I write to somebody, I never try to say anything mean. I will never write you a message and tell you something mean. So I don't know why people want to send me messages and mess up my day with nonsense that I'm not interested in. I like when people interact with me, but I want it to be of certain quality. There's a lot of stuff I don't want to know and I don't want to hear. I told that Marianne like 4 or 5 times, just keeps doing it. She never stops. Now she's blocked. I will play a game with one of my friends. One day I will maybe take a look at Teams and see what she sent me. The game will be how many matches did she send me. I hope that she's not smart enough to delete the messages because she's not the best with technologies. Maybe she doesn't know how to delete once she did send the messages. I guess there will be like 20 or 30 messages. I don't want to punish her too much. I cannot let her mess up my days with stupid messages that make sense that I'm not interested in. I have to gain back some control.
I hear you.
I feel much more peaceful, much more present since I've started taking care of the notifications.
That's good news.
What would you like to do today regarding poker?
Do you have some specific hands you'd like to review?
Oh, I think I have only one.
Let's look at that and then look at a full tournament afterwards and focus on what the opponents were doing and things like that.
King 3 offsuit. Now, I don't know why I did mark that hand, because normally it should not be one that I play. Since I'm on the small blind, maybe I did play it. Do you agree with my decision to play that hand?
Well, what do you think of this decision?
I think it's out of my range, because normally I should not play King 3 offsuit. I still have a lot of big blinds. Maybe I can afford 0.5.
Yeah, you have one good card, the king. In general, it wouldn't be played. But on the other hand, it's not a very big problem because the pot is 6 big blinds. That's true. Pot's 10 times more than the risk you took. There are some things in your favor in this scenario. I don't mind this. It is certainly loose.
Now I get my king. But there's also an ace, risk of a flush with the diamond. He goes for half pots. One of them calls. I decided to fold.
What would you guess my reaction will be?
I think you will approve.
Why could that be?
Because it's too risky. The board is scary. Both of them show interest. If I face only one, maybe I can take a look at the turn. Even then, it's not good. I'm better off to just fold.
Now here I do think I have an interesting question. What would we call here? What type of hands could we continue with? Could we continue with an 8, for example?
We cannot.
Could we continue with a king if we have diamonds with a king?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Could we continue with an ace?
Yes, because it's only half pot.
I agree. Could we continue with 2 diamonds?
Yes, we can.
Exactly. These are mostly the hands we'd continue here. Maybe the only exception for a king, maybe if you have the king of diamonds, then it would be close. If you had the king of diamonds, let's say the other cards are pretty good, like king, queen, and it's not 2 diamonds obviously continue. But if it's 1 diamond, that diamond is the king of diamonds, which is the best diamond. Maybe that would also feel like continue.
I agree. You think I shouldn't have played that hand, but you agree with my fault.
I don't think it was a very big mistake that you played. There's very good news in this hand, actually. It's dangerous to play bad hands. The good news here is you did play a bad hand. You were able to not make a further mistake from it. And often that's the issue people have. The issue isn't to have a big blind pre-flop. The issue is that sometimes they make bigger mistakes on a flop. It's these types of things.
I agree. Now you want me to pick a game? We take a look
Yes.
at it.
From the beginning, try to read some of the opponents and get to know them. I'm quite surprised you blocked your used to be friend. I thought you were quite good friend.
I cannot let her do anything. She has to realize that's not because we are friends, that it has to be painful for me, that I have to go through a lot of crap. Either she will not try to make my life harder as it is, or I will see her less. I don't get why people want to say mean stuff to other people, what pleasure they get out of it.
That seems quite rude indeed. What do you think these players have? That would be my first question of an exercise.
They all should have good hands. I'm only calling this because I have king 7, because I'm on the big blind. I don't like it at all. If I hit a king and a 7, I will make a lot. I have to try, even if most of the times I don't make it. Now, what do they have? They have crappy hands like Jack 10 offsuit, King 9 offsuit, Ace Queen offsuit, King 10 suited. Well, more or less good. I don't expect to see a lot of queens, a lot of kings, a lot of aces.
I would agree with that on the flop.
Well, here I see it quite strong because he's facing a lot of opponents. He's first to act since he's the small blind. It's now the flop. Since he's first to act, he's facing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opponents. I give a lot of weight to that. I think he has a flush draw. He should have 2 diamonds. Or he did hit an ace. If he's not a very good player, then he should have a queen. He has something. It should be good.
I agree. Should it really be a queen or should it really even be a flush draw?
What you mean with should?
Exactly. Well,
Is the question, should a good player do that? A queen, he should not do it, no. With a flush draw, I would go for 2/3 with a flush draw to make sure I get not so much callers. With an ace, it's risky. I don't like half pot here, actually. What about you? A lot of people will call. Unless I have ace queen and one of the cards is a diamond or 2 of the cards are diamonds. Unless I have something very good, I'm not sure I want people to stick around. I would go for 2/3 of the pot. Even if you have an ace, it's maybe nice to see what they do before you start betting. What do you think?
I don't like his move at all. I don't think it's a good strategy overall on the flop to start just betting into 5 opponents. Even if he has an ace, very rare it's ace 6 or ace queen. It's usually just a normal ace. Even then, it's very dangerous. Already, I would be thinking that player 1 may be being a little bit too gambling.
I get it.
The other 2 players, should they really call a queen is my question.
I don't think they should.
I agree with you. Maybe if you have a very good queen, like king, queen, it would be tempting. But overall, with so many players on the flop, really not much point in calling a queen.
If you have an ace with a good kicker, you can call. If you have a flush draw, 2 diamonds, you can call. If not, you should not call.
Only exception would be something like, let's say someone has king jack, king 10 or jack 10. Why did I name those hands? King jack, king 10, jack 10.
Because they can make a straight.
That doesn't seem like enough, just having a king jack, king 10, jack 10. If those would have 3 to a flush as well, then the combination of those 2 draws, I think, would be enough. If it would have 2 diamonds, then you would really like your hand. I would really like here to have king 10 of diamonds. Maybe I'd even like it more than an ace. Can you see how that could be?
Because you can make a straight and you can make a flush.
That's very powerful. You can make two hands that are very strong. Let's say you have king jack. You don't really have two diamonds. You just have one diamond. I would like to call that hand a bit more than a queen because the draws are still valuable. It's still, you're drawing to something very strong like a straight or a flush. I think this is an interesting topic to summarize here, which is there was 6 players to go to the flop. On average, if 6 players go to the flop, what do you think ends up being the winning hand? Does it end up being second pair or third pair usually if 6 players go to the flop?
It will be a flush or it will be 2 pairs or straight.
It will often be a very strong hand. That's why I value so much the draws more here. Because if you make a flush, you have a hand that can beat 5 opponents. If you make a straight, you have a hand that can beat 5 opponents. If you just have a queen, I don't say it never happens. It's a bad gamble to risk with a queen, then you have 5 opponents. That doesn't seem like a good idea.
The issue with the straight is if one of the next card is a diamond, then your straight could be beaten by the flush. Straight is nice. It's not so nice when there's a risk of a flush.
That's why I added the detail there. If you go with the straight cards here, you should have at least one high diamond in that hand. You have some safety net to your straight.
Then the 2 next card must be also diamonds.
It's a long shot, it's true. But it's also 6 big blinds and you have 70 here. It certainly would be close. I wouldn't feel amazing with just a hand like that.
Okay.
We see the hand, how it ended playing out and what we can learn from the opponents here. Immediately on the turn, even for a bad player, what would you think minimum player 1 has?
Ace queen, 2 pairs.
I think he can sometimes just have 1 ace also. I think he can sometimes have like ace 10. It doesn't seem very likely. I think he can sometimes have an ace with 2 diamonds. Maybe he has like ace 9. He has diamond. That would be rare. That would also be not a very good play like that. So I would say he should have ace queen. Sometimes I think he could have ace jack or ace 2 diamonds. Does that make sense? Let's see how it plays. One player folds. What did the other do? They called. It's a massive pot. This pot is weird because they should really be all in almost. The pot's already 100. What does it look like player 7 is? Why isn't player 7 all in? I think that's an interesting thing.
Because he has a flush draw. He has 2 diamonds.
Yes.
He's still missing 1 card.
He's still seeking his 1 card. You're actually quite good at observing what people do. That might be your strength as a poker player, actually.
One day, maybe, Norman. It's not my strength. I did make the mistake. You did see the mistake. I did jump to the next card immediately instead of looking until the end what happens on the table. For me, it's still hard to concentrate during an entire tournament, really look at what everybody does. I have to do an F.
Could you say poker can be used as a meditation exercise or not really?
Here's something very interesting. Why do you want to work a lot? For example, me, why do I not just try to have an easy life? Why do I say stupid stuff like work 17 hours a day? Is it for the money? Most of the stuff I do costs me money and will never make me any money. The piano will never make me any money. My videos on YouTube probably will never make me 1 single USD. I spend money on it. Why do I do all that? It's just to be outside of my head, just to get some flow state where I can concentrate on something. That flow state, people who are good at meditation, they get it while they meditate. I get it if something is very interesting for me. Like the piano, I only play 1 or 2 hours a day. YouTube videos, I can do that quite long as the subject I'm researching is interesting. Trading, when I have to look at the chart, try to understand them, do some research, all that can eat up a lot of time. When I'm in a flow state, I forget myself. I'm just interested in what I'm observing, what I'm analyzing, what I try to understand. Here's something a wise man said, a Buddhist. I think they are all Buddhists, more or less. It's just a different sects of Buddhism. One of them said something wise. He said, I sit in front of the mountain until only the mountain exists. The relief he was looking for is to forget his ego and his life and be just in the present moment. Observe nature, life as it unfolds. Stop having all those thoughts that torment you all day long. Get some peace from yourself. He did achieve it by meditating, looking for a very long time at that mountain until only the mountain exists, until he forgot about himself. When I managed to work 17 hours a day, I'm really interested in what I did. I get the same. I did forget about myself. I don't see time flying by. That makes me happy, or at least I'm less tormented as I would be otherwise. Now, poker is still hard for me. It's hard for me to get that flow state. Maybe in 2, 5, or 10 years, that will be the case. Maybe then I can play 2, 3, or 4 hours and forget myself, forget my issues, forget my worries, and just be interested in the game. What do you think about that, Norman? Do you want to be like the Buddhist and look at the mountains until you forget yourself, until your ego doesn't exist anymore?
You were going very philosophical, I think, of meditation and concentration. It's what you said. It can feel nice to concentrate on something. It takes practice. On this hand, looks like player 7 has a draw. He must have a good hand, otherwise he should fold. Right? If he had a good hand, why not go all in? Looks like he's still waiting for one card here. Player 1, to me, it looks like it's ace-6 or something. Because ace-queen maybe would re-raise pre-flop. Maybe ace-queen. Ace-6 would make a lot of sense. Or pocket sixes, another one, makes perfect sense. Very strong hands expecting here. Let's see how the river was.
Who is more likely to win?
Very good question here. Well, first, you tell me who it should be.
Should be player 1.
Should be player 1, exactly. They bet into 5 opponent. Player 7 looks like they have maybe like 10-9 of diamonds. They can hit a jack, a diamond. Their hand's very tempting. Maybe they have king 9 of diamonds or something. But it should be player 1. You never really know in poker. Anything could happen. Hand's not over yet. All right, now this card should favor which of them?
Should favor player 1.
And we're expecting him to go all in here. And then player 7 maybe has easy decision. If he has just diamonds, should just fold. Let's see the river play. As expected, they do fold. If I talk about where I get joy, there's some joy in things like that. If I think back to when I would start poker, this would look to me like magic. How do I know what happens on this river card? But now it seems just normal. What I'm saying is it makes me happy to see the harmony or music in this poker.
You know that sometimes when at the level where I play, player 7 calls, then all he had was a 6. That happens at the levels where I play.
It's gonna be rare. It's gonna be maybe 1 in 10, 1 in 100 times even.
Great when our analysis turns out to be correct. We know what he had, even if we didn't see it.
Only issue from this hand is because we didn't see what cards they turned over. It's tough for us to know if anyone here made a mistake or was too aggressive or both of them played it normally. That's the only thing.
Of course.
Right?
We have no confirmation.
Yes, indeed. Now we have an ace here. Maybe we can make 2 pair. Now, what is interesting about the players who are involved?
They look like the same players.
They look like the same player. Now, isn't that interesting? It often happens like this in poker. Maybe doesn't mean too much yet. It's still interesting that just last hand, which players were involved in big action last hand?
Was player 7, player 1.
Good. Here they are again, limping with player 4. Also interesting. Don't make too much of this. It's still interesting. If it keeps being like that, then maybe they are very active players. I really like seeing that they're being more active in these early levels. Let's see what happens flop and what people do and what they could have. It's a bit of a guessing game, what we're practicing here. It's big part of poker, knowing what the opponents have. It's good to practice that. Let's see the other actions here on the flop. Things like this make me very suspicious. I try to be a reasonable person. Then second hand in a row, player 1 does a huge raise, and immediately I'm starting to think maybe they're a big fish, like you like to say. Doesn't it make an emotional reaction in you? How does player 1 twice in a row have a hand to make big raises with?
I could be wrong. about that. I think it's the third time he did it.
Third, I think it's only the second hand. How third?
Yeah, well, then you are better. For me, it looks like if he has done it 3 times. Maybe he did it in the same hand twice, or I don't know. In my mind, he did it more than twice. I might be totally wrong with that. Yes,
Yeah.
it looks very fishy.
But this thing is, what would I change based on that? What would I do differently, if anything?
You would be more tight against him.
But would I make like big calls and not fold him and just think he's bluffing all the time?
Not if you have nothing. Here, for example, if you have a 10, would you call?
I think only a good 10. It's interesting. If I have a bad 10, I feel very suspicious about player 1. If I'm wrong, I will ruin my whole tournament. If player 1's really bad, I can have the next 50 hands in this tournament. He will make a mistake at some point. We're still guessing that player 1 is maybe doing weird stuff. Maybe he just has good hand twice in a row. I don't want to take a big risk on just a guess when it's not necessary. If it's a bad 10, I think I would fold to. I wouldn't enjoy it, and I would feel in a way that player 1 might be taking advantage of me. I still would try to look at the bigger picture, how I have 70 big blinds. I don't want to be in a big gamble with player 1 here. At least not yet. More confirmations would be needed.
He went so high that I don't think you could even call with 2 spades.
It would be tough. I think if you have the ace of spade, you can.
The pot odds 37. If you have a flush draw, then you have 9. 9 times 4, it's 36. He put 37. You cannot call.
The thing with that, let's say you have a flush draw with an ace. Sometimes you can win on an ace.
I'm asking this because we think he's a big fish. Will we play a little looser or not?
No, disagree already.
Don't you think anymore that player 1 is fishy?
I'm getting suspicious. You said it way too strongly there. We didn't see the cards last time. We don't see the cards here yet. Even though it seems like a statistical, it just seems unusual that this player has 2 hands in a row, 2 pair. It's too strong to already believe too much.
Here he should have at least straight. Normally you don't play low cards. The only thing that makes a little sense would be 2 spades, a flush draw. If not, he shouldn't do that. Even then it's risky. I don't see how he can have anything good on this flop. He could have queens, kings or aces. He could have that.
If you have pocket 5s.
Pocket 5s.
There's something you're missing here on this. Let's forget about him one moment. Let's analyze what hands the opponents had. Let's start with can you go with the start of the flop? Then when the first bet happens, pause it. Now, what do you make of this? How strong does this look to you?
It looks like a 10.
What sizing did this player bet?
Very low. There are 2 reasons why you play very low. Either you're really strong, you want people to keep playing, or you just want to fold out hands that are useless, that shouldn't keep playing, so that they don't hit anything. He goes very low. Goes what, 1/3, even less than that?
Which one is more common?
Strong or weak? I think weak is more common.
Why?
Because the other game is quite sneaky. To be sneaky, you actually must be quite good. Here, we are still playing with...
There's another reason which hasn't got to do with skill.
What's the question? What were we talking about?
Which is more likely here? For him to be sneaky with a super strong hand, or for him to have maybe not a great hand? There's a reason why it's more likely he has a weaker type of hand.
Because the bet size related to the strength of your hand. If you bet higher, probably you have a better hand. If you bet less, probably you have less of a good hand.
That's true. I'm aiming at something else here, which is, I will give you a big hint here. Let's go through this. If you think about how often you make 1 pair or 2 pair, which do you make more often?
1 pair. 1 pair you make often.
Which do you make more often? 2 pair or 3 of a kind?
2 pair.
Which do you make more often? 3 of a kind or a straight?
I think it's again 3 of a kind.
These 2 might be a bit closer with these 3 of a kind. Which do you make more often? A straight or a flush?
It should be a straight.
Which do you make more often? A flush or a full house?
Flush.
Which do you make more often? A full house or 4 of a kind?
Full house.
Which do you make more often? 4 of a kind or a straight flush?
Of a kind.
Have you ever made a straight flush or a royal flush?
I don't know.
The hand strength in poker, in this way, it's very beautiful and simple. It's based on the rarity how often it happened. Funny story, there's a format of 6-card poker, which is called 6 plus hold'em, it's called, or short deck. It's a form of poker where they take out the low cards. They thought people don't like playing bad cards. They removed cards from 2 to 6 from the deck. Yes, but in that game, because there's cards are closer together, it's very easy in that game to make straight because all the cards are from 7 to ace, which is closer together. Essentially in that game, the order is a bit different if I remember correctly. I think in that game, there's something strange there, like it happens that it's easier to make a straight than a 3 of a kind. Something strange like that. Or actually no, flush is tougher there than a full house. In that game, a flush beats a full house. Why I'm all saying all this is, it's not a very popular poker format. Maybe you haven't heard of that short deck poker. Why I'm saying this is, it's just very rare for someone to actually have a good hand. It's much easier to have a bad hand. Even all the things you mentioned is true, that maybe he's not so sneaky to play a strong hand like this, or that his bet size, maybe a strong hand would want to make a bigger bet because it's more valuable. That's all true. You can have so many ways of one pair. You can have ace-6, king-6, queen-6, jack-6. You can have 10-7, 10-8, 10-9, jack-10. It's very easy to have one pair or to have draws or something like that. It's very difficult to have 2 pair or even top pair, top kicker is very rare. I would say it's just a matter of likelihood, that he's way more likely to just have a 6, a weak 10, a draw, than to have something really strong. Does that make sense?
Yes, the likelihood of having crappy hand is higher than the likelihood of having good hands.
Yes, much greater. The same for player 7. Okay.
You know what I think about now? It might not be true, actually, because happiness is not just something that is easily attainable. I wanted to say the likelihood of having a crappy life is higher than the likelihood of having a good life.
Somehow this sounds funny. I guess it's true, right?
Cynical.
I know you like cynicism. Here's the question with this hand though. Let's say player 1 has king 10. I'm not giving player 1 pocket queens. I'm just giving him king 10. What should player 1 think with king 10? And move it a little further. Player 7 also called. Here. Player 1 has king 10. What should he think?
He should think I should call, because they didn't show a lot of aggression, because the outs he gets are really good. The question is, can he win 1 in 10? Is that the amount he has to win, or 1 in 5? How much does he has to win?
1 in 6 actually.
1 in 6? Probably he can.
The question's different. What should he do with king 10? King 10 maybe you don't like.
Yeah,
What-
10. It's dangerous. If somebody has a flush draw, he will call.
But which hand is a favorite? And another question.
Do you mean with which hand is a favorite?
Well, which hand is a favorite? A flush draw or king 10? Yeah.
Which hand will win more often? A flush draw will only win 36% of the time. He has 64% chance of winning.
Out of 3 tries, how many out of 3 tries will he win?
2.
It's a good situation. Then the other one is, can a flush draw make a flush without him knowing?
He will realize that there's one more spade, that it gets dangerous.
Is it really that dangerous if you can see if the danger arrives? Like sometimes, let's say the turn is a 2 of clubs, river is 2 of hearts. No spades come, no dangerous cards come. Then he doesn't have to worry about it. Sometimes the ace of spades come and suddenly his king 10 doesn't look so good. There's an ace, there's spade. It's fine to take some risk if you can readjust later. But where I want to go with this is, let's say the opponent had bet bigger. Would it make a difference what he could do then with his king 10? Let's say player 4 had bet 2/3 or a pot size bet. Would that change anything for player 1 with king 10?
I don't know. He can afford to call. That's one of the things. Would it change something? Probably it would change something because the odds he gets won't be that nice. King 10 is still a huge favorite on this board. He should still call.
I don't really like your answers on this one.
Why not?
King 10 obviously should call, at least should call. The question is not about folding King 10, unless the opponent goes all in or something crazy. But the question is, against those smaller, weaker bets, I think there's a lot of space now that we could or should think about raising King 10.
But I agree with that.
Against the bigger bet, I wouldn't feel so confident raising King.
A bigger bet, we only call. I agree.
Why this is such a key thing here is the fact that player 1 raised. If we just looked at that first glance, someone raises, oh, they must have 2 pairs. Maybe there's some nuance to it. A good player can just raise 1 pair if the situation is good for it. In this case, player 4 and player 7 have made quite small bets. Let's say he has even ace 10. Even better than King 10. It doesn't look like someone has better than his ace 10. He should raise. One made a big bet. What I'm trying to teach is how a hand can go from call to raise based on how big the opponent bet.
Smaller bet, we can make a raise. Bigger bet, we have to be more careful.
I think you're pretty good at knowing how a hand can go from call to fold. If someone makes a very small bet, you maybe call a weaker hand. If someone makes a bigger bet, you make more folds. I think you're good at that. Same is true for raising. The smaller they bet, the more weak you can be to raise. The bigger they bet, the stronger you need to be to raise.
Okay, I understand.
Good. Let's see how this hand goes on. To me, he doesn't have to have a super duper hand. He can just have King 10, Ace 10 and be like, well, my hand's best here. No one's betting strong enough. No one has better than Ace 10, and so I'll raise.
He doesn't have a flush.
We've only seen what player 4 did. We haven't seen what other players did yet.
He also doesn't have a flush.
Well, to me, it makes sense. Who out of all the players should check the most often on the turn? That's an interesting question, really. Who should slow down on the turn? Let's go back to the flop. One quick moment here. Which players looked like they had a draw on the flop? And which player looked like they had a made hand on the flop?
Player 1 had a made hand.
And which player looked more like a draw?
Player 4.
More like player 4, exactly. So actually, it's normal for player 1 to slow down on the turn. If he had a hand like ace 10, king 10, he won't like that spade 10. Player 4, he played it exactly like a draw was. He tried to give himself a good price on the turn. He got raised very big. He was like, well, I have the draw. Now on the turn, you said he won't have a flush because he checked. What could be another reason for him
To be sneaky so they don't fold.
There's another supporting thing for being sneaky here, which is player 1 made a big bet on the flop. Does that impact what he could be doing on the turn?
He could bet again.
He could bet again, exactly. From player 4's perspective, he doesn't have to start betting. He can hope and wait for player 1 to do it. If player 1 has 2 pair, 3 of a kind, or even a hand like ace 10 or pocket queens, he might do the betting himself. Player 4 doesn't have to take the lead here, okay?
The thing is, it is player 4 who went for 14 big blinds, not player 1. We cannot expect a
Incorrect.
continuation burst.
That's incorrect. Replay the flop.
It was player 1 who did go for 14. We can expect a continuation bet on the turn. He can just check and see if he goes again for it with his flush, and then he calls.
Not his flush. His 10, his pocket queens, his 2 pair.
Player 1 with his 2 pair. Then player 4 with his flush could call.
Exactly. Now you're putting the story together better. I like it more, yes. Now the river. Why does player 4 start betting now?
Because his 10 looks quite nice, and maybe it even improved with the jack we just got.
What about player 4 having a flush?
Then it would be nice, yeah. It would be nice to get something more with his flush. Half pot is a good idea.
Not wait for player 1 to bet.
Because they didn't show any aggression.
Exactly. Player 4 might have waited the turn. Then he sees player 1 doesn't want to bet anymore. Now is where player 4 feel like I have to start betting now. First, he waited for player 1 to want to slow down. Another hand which we didn't see a showdown. But I think this is actually extremely educational hand if you were able to follow along with some of the topics and themes in this. What do you
Norman,
think of this?
I think it's very interesting to do that. I enjoy a lot doing it. However, I did wake up at midnight. I didn't sleep a lot.
To be in a rush to leave.
Not that I'm in a rush. I'm quite sleepy. I want to go to the bathroom. I think we still did a decent amount for today, with me being arriving late because of my setup and all that stuff. I think we still did a decent amount. I rather work more next week and give me a break now, because I really feel tired. I don't want to fall asleep or give bad answers. Probably just excuses. I think we did enough. I think I did a decent amount of work for my condition today. I would like to go to the bathroom, then lay down and sleep. Normally in 1 hour I should look at my messages, but I will do that only when I wake up in a couple of hours. Norman, thanks a lot. The lesson was awesome. I enjoy our talk. One of the videos I sent you is about somebody who went off-grid. He became famous just because he went off-grid. You can see his cabin in the video, how he managed to survive off-grid. You talked about your desire to be off-grid one day. Well, he became famous because he did it. People find it curious that he did it. I think he did find more happiness being off-grid than if he would live in a city. That is because he put some distance between him and other people. That makes him happy. His life was harder because he had to build his own cabin. He had to hunt. He had no electricity, the plumbing or anything like this. He did put a lot of distance between him and the rest of humanity. And I think that made him happy. I think that made him happier than if he would have been a clinician or a veterinarian or an architect or a judge. The chance of being happier if you are working in a petrol station, looking at cars your entire life that you cannot afford, putting petrol in them, I'm not sure that would have made him more happy. He took the right decision. Now, just because he put a distance between him and the rest of humanity, should you become a celebrity? Now, the government has even charged somebody of looking after the cabin and maintaining it. And people go take a small plane and pay the money just to take a look at how he lived and see how he survived. With a simple thing, just putting distance between you and humanity, you can become famous. I don't think he did it for fame. Now he is famous. Take a look at it. Next time, tell me what you think. The thing is, I did it wrong because I already told you what I think. That will shape the way you will talk about it. I should have been more wise, let you think about it and give me your opinion without altering it. Then it would be more interesting to me. I hope you find it interesting. Maybe we can talk about it next time.
All right.